It is Tuesday, and welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. Here on the show, we connect authors to each other and we help readers find new authors to love. Now, as a viewer, you probably already have your own favorite type of book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. But you never know. We may just be able to introduce you to your new favorite genre to love, or even help you discover some books that don't fit into any one of the other particular or traditional genres. Here on the Writers' Corner live show, you will meet seasoned as well as new and aspiring authors. Some of our seasoned authors share their tips and tricks of how to get published right the first time. But on the Writers' Corner live show, the most exciting part is that you get to hear the backstories straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So join us live every Tuesday for the Insider's Scoop. Our writers are both traditionally published and self-published. So generally, we ask our authors which method they chose and why they did so you can learn from the experience. And welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Brigitte Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and over to my co-host, Mary.
Hi, Brigitte. How are you?
I'm very well, and yourself?
I'm wonderful. So I'm Mary Elizabeth Jackson, and I am in Tennessee in the United States.
Fantastic. And today we have got a lovely guest as a lady. She is Jessica DeYoung. And Jessica, basically, she tells us that now usually people don't consider themselves an author when they are a blogger, but in fact they are. They
Absolutely.
are authors.
Yes.
And so Jessica not only blogs herself, but she's also a guest blogger, and she has mainly focused on encouraging women and guiding them as Christians. And so she started a ministry. So she's the founder of a ministry called Grace Unworthy. She also hosts live streams twice a week, and she uses her own particular flavor of humor and weaves it through her own personal stories as she encourages other women. So, although she's already published articles in magazines and written guest blogs, she's also currently working on a series of devotionals, she says, that will help and encourage women as well. So, shall we invite her onto the show?
Yeah, reading that, when I read it, that's what drew me to reach out to her. I love what she was doing. I think it's great. It's inspiring, and so I was like, oh, I want to talk to her more about this. And, we want to share what she's doing and help her along her journey as well and learn from her too.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to welcome our audience today. So if you're watching us on the show live, and I see Tammy's watching us and she says, good morning from Tennessee. We're a worldwide audience. So I love that people are telling us where they're checking in from. Do say hello in the comments. Do let us know where you're watching from, because this is worldwide. So it's always great to know where exactly our audience is coming from. And if you're watching the show on the replay, welcome to you too. So shall we invite her on the show?
Yes, let's bring her on.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica. So lovely to have you on the show.
Hi, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us where you're from, because I started to ask you that question, but we had to come on. So where are you from?
I am in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, so it's shy of Nashville.
Okay, so how come I didn't know this? Why are we not like meeting up? Because you're
I don't know. We need to.
Less than an hour from me. Have you? Okay, so I know this is. I don't want to get off what we're talking about. Have you been on the radio at MTSU on Justin Reed's show? Have you been on?
No.
Okay, got to make that connection for you. So
do it.
we'll talk about it after the show. He is an awesome guy. You will love him. He is a pastor, and he's a really well, he's just climbing the charts as one of the top, radio show hosts in the country. So, I mean, he's just awesome. Yeah. So we need to do that.
Yes, let's.
Yeah. Oh,
So, I know. So women generally, as a rule, find ourselves very challenged. We've got so many hats to wear. We're moms, we're daughters, we're sisters, we're mothers, we're authors, we are psychologists, we psychiatrists, we're nurses and doctors to our children and husbands. And or we could be wearing the CEO hat in a corporate environment, or whatever that may be. We wear these multiple hats, and as women, we often get stressed out, and we don't do self-care, and because our priority as women is usually to take care of others. We've got this natural instinct to be the carer of the herd, and we neglect ourselves. And the other challenge that women often has, and I don't know why this happens, is that women seem to have an inherent way of judging each other and putting each other down. And I'm not quite sure where that culture comes from. And so it's wonderful to meet women that make it their career to try and uplift other women, to do something that's encouraging and uplifting. What was it that got you on this path of wanting to uplift women?
So I've had so many things in my life, so many ups and downs, and through a lot of the downs, the Lord was teaching me and showing me the good in that. And so I'm for a lot of, depending on a lot of my friends, I am the silver lining person. I'm like, where is the goodness in this? And I encourage that in other women and showing them that goodness that's in their situations. I've gone through cancer at age 5. I went through a divorce of my parents at age 13. I went through a crazy season in high school. I got pregnant and had an abortion in college. I was redeemed through that, thank the Lord. So it's just been like there's been one thing after another that's happened, but all throughout that, the Lord has been right there with me. He never left me. And he just, me sharing my story, it's been able to encourage and help others. And so that's why, because I am not a perfect person. No one is. And so I just want to encourage other women in knowing that, you know what, you're not alone in what you've gone through. You can be free and healed from this. You just have to accept that gift from God. And so that's what I talk about mostly.
Well, and we're supposed to take our journeys in our life and turn around and teach others and help them. And we definitely, we're definitely not alone, and nobody's free of some sort of struggle in their life, whether it's great or a lot or one. We all have that. And I really believe that, I say, okay, so I got through it. I'm here. You can do it too, no matter what it is, and we're supposed to support each other and help each other and be those beacons of light on this planet for others. And it's not an ego thing. It's not I'm better than you. It's like, I went through this, and this is what saved me, and this is why I'm resilient. And, I see that you're struggling, and I don't want you to give up hope, because you can pull yourself out. There's so many things to be grateful for, and those blessings. And it's important to stay in a place of gratitude. And that's hard. Some of those places are hard to be in a place of gratitude when you're in the midst of it.
Yeah, but if you're surrounded by other people who are encouraging you and who have gone through those stories, and you've heard and you've seen them on the other side, it helps you be, it's easier to go through your struggle, because you've seen, it's not always going to be this way, and the Lord's got a plan. We just have to, see what it is and allow it to happen.
Surrender.
Yes, surrender. That's hard as women, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, Brigetti, we can't hear you right now. I was waiting for her to ask a question, and we can't. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I muted myself there for a minute.
Okay, there she's back now.
Your story is absolutely amazing, and I think, what was the driving force that helped you to propel yourself forward? Because so often bad things happen to us, and we get stuck there. Yeah. And somehow we need to teach ourselves that where we come from is not where we have to stay. What was it that helped you propel yourself forward?
getting back into the Word of God, because when I was going through it, I kind of stopped listening to the Lord. I was like, I'm not going to talk to you because I don't feel like you've answered my prayers the way that I want. And it's obviously not working the way that I want to. So I'm going to not talk to you. And that did not work out, obviously. It did not work out. And so getting back into the Word, praying, those two things were the biggest thing, because I was, like you said, surrender. I was letting go of my preconceived notions of what my life was supposed to look like, and letting the Lord take hold of that. And I think that's a hard place to be, because it's like fear of the unknown. You're comfortable where you are, even though it sucks, but you know the surroundings, right? So once you start letting go, and once you start allowing someone else to help you and letting the Lord in, that's a very vulnerable place to be, because you don't know what that's going to look like. But you know that even though it sucks right here, I know what it's like. I know what it feels like, and I'm just going to stay here. But that it was a very vulnerable place to share my story and to let the Lord in and just tell him all the things that I was going through, because even though he already knows, it was still hard for me to open up and say, you know what, I don't like this. So that.
So what's your book?
And that's the
Oh, go ahead, Brigetti. It's okay. Go ahead.
And that's the thing about being vulnerable. We're always scared about putting ourselves out there. I remember what it was like when I first started live streaming, and I thought to myself, what is my husband going to think? What are my kids going to think? My neighbor's going to think? My friend's going to think? All those negative thoughts just run through your head, and they can become quite overpowering. And you've got to just push through those feelings and realize that you are enough.
That's right.
And that it's okay to say, I have these abilities and I want to share my abilities with you, because this is how it made my life better. And I want to share the love, basically, is what it is. And so it's phenomenal that you were able to push through those insecurities, because, especially when you've had a dark side, and who of us doesn't have a dark side? Because that's life, right? Life can be dark, but we can learn to push through the darkness and choose to show the light and shine a light on the good part of our lives and learn from the dark side. And I think that's what your mission is all about, is helping women and elevating them. But now I've got a question for you, Jessica. As women, we don't always feel on top of our game, because life's like that, right? Whether we go through highs and lows. And if you're doing what you're doing as a full-time career, how do you push through your own stuff, your own darkness on a day that you're not feeling well, and yet find a way to still be encouraging to other women? How do you push through?
That's actually very near and dear, because I have been going through a lot, but I have a fantastic community around me that help encourage me and pray for me and lift me up and tell me you can do it. And they come on when I do my live videos that I've got to be, hey, they come on there and they spur me on and they comment, so that I know that, okay, I'm not alone out there. And that's really what gets me through it, is that I am open and vulnerable to them and tell them, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. And not one of them have ever said, oh, I cannot believe you struggle with that. Never has that happened, right? But we as women, I think that we're afraid that if we tell someone, you know what, I'm struggling with depression, that they're going to go, oh, you're a horrible Christian, or I cannot believe you. That's what we think, right? Because we're just that judging, that inner monologue. But the reality is that if those close friends that you have, they're going to support you and go, you know what, I've been there, and I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to hold your hand, and we're going to go through this together. And in that vulnerability, I'm able to get that courage, because I have a community that just surrounds me, and they're holding me.
Support is very important.
Amazing,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Support
It's when we find the inner strength to show our vulnerability, it's strange, but it attracts people to us. We have this funny notion that or expectation that perfect is the goal. But we're not perfect. No one is perfect, and no one's attracted to perfect. If you
Right.
speak to people, when they come across someone that's perceived as perfect, they can't associate, they can't connect with perfect. But if you show your vulnerability and you show your realness, that is what makes people want to connect with you. Because when you show what goes wrong in your life, it's like, oh my goodness, I thought I was the only one.
Yes. Yes, and that's exactly what I do. When I do my live videos, I tell a story. Usually I'll start with a story about something that's happened in my life. I've talked about trying, almost cutting my finger off while doing woodworking. I've talked about yelling at my kids, and, so I'm being open and vulnerable, but then I also go, okay, well, here's what the Bible says about this, and here's what we can learn from this. And so, yes, you're exactly right. I've got so many more people, I think, that can relate with me, and that watch, because they know that I'm going to be real with them, and I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm going to be like, hey, here's the thing, and they want that. And so you're exactly right.
Hey, do we want to, are there any comments that we should share, or are there any questions for Jessica today?
Well, everyone has said hello, and let us know where they are watching
Oh,
from.
good.
But please,
Okay.
if you've got any specific questions for Jessica, please let us know, and let's get them answered. So, Jessica, how did you become a blogger? Um, did you just decide one day to pick up the pen and write? What was it that propelled you to put pen to paper? I like to ask people that question because we all have a story, but none of us, or not all of us, always feel compelled to pen down our life story. What was it that propelled you into writing?
So about 2 years ago, the Lord, I felt that I needed to write a book. I felt like the Lord was telling me to write a book. And I didn't know what it was going to be, but through lots of prayer, I found out what it was going to be called. And it's called Grace Unworthy, which is now my ministry name, right? So in that, I was like, okay, I'm going to write a book. And so I was like going down that aisle, but the Lord's like, no, yes, but not yet. And so I tried a lot of things, and I found this book in a random aisle at a grocery store, and I immediately knew that I needed to share the things that were in this book to ladies, but I didn't know how. And so I moved the book from table to table, and it took me several months, and I'm like, Lord, I don't know how I'm supposed to share this. And it was like, he said, just do it. Okay. So that was when I decided, okay, I'm going to do 100 days of loving on you. And that was like the hashtag for it. And so for 100 days, I sent an email to my list of subscribers for this email. And it was essentially like a little devotional was what I sent them. And at the beginning, it was very much like the book. And then as it gone, like the Lord started talking to me, and I started writing out more and more devotionals. And that's where that started. So I thought, you know what, after the emails were done, I knew that I needed to continue writing. I was still being bombarded with like all these things that I wanted to share. And so I started a blog and started putting those emails in a blog to get those devotions out. And they're just little snippets, but they have a story about me. They have story from the scripture, so that you can, so it's easier to apply the scripture to your life instead of, oh, that's a great verse, but it applies the scripture to your life. And then usually I'll have a challenge at the end or a prayer for someone, so that they can actually apply what they've read, instead of just, again, oh, that's a good devotional. That was nice, but actually applying that. And so those emails brought toward that. And now that's what the devotionals that I've written are those emails that I was writing, and then plus the blogs. And it's just beautiful how it just organically worked its way that way.
It's really interesting when you surrender to the path that God intends for you. Because I didn't know what I was doing either. And I had written this manuscript, had just downloaded to me for my baby book back here, my children's book. And I sat on it for I feel like it was 2 years, but I'm not really sure. But I kept getting that nudging. You need to do something with this. You need to do something with this. So I know what you're talking about. And finally, I was like, fine, okay, I will listen, but I don't even know who to talk to or where to go, And so it's where it's just like all these doors started to open, And so I'm a full believer in listening to those voices that are those little nudgings that are telling you, because we're so busy trying to do what we think our life is supposed to be like. We're so busy trying to find what our life is supposed to be like. We don't just stop and listen to what our life is actually supposed to be filled with or do, or the direction. And it's absolutely, I've witnessed it in my own life, just stopping and doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Just do it.
That's my motto. Just do it. Like, not do this. Yeah. So
I like this comment. This comment by Tammy. Tammy says we can be vulnerable without being negative. Negativity keeps people away. Isn't that so true?
Absolutely. And my daughter's dealing with that. Somebody who, her life has not been so great, and she's like, she's taking it out on, so yeah, I just had that discussion the other day. I was like, we all go through stuff. We can still be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. When did your book come out? When did you?
It has not come out yet. So I finished writing it. Yeah, I finished writing it in March, so just a little bit ago, and I'm hoping to get it printed and out by September, so we can do it, big Christmas thing. So I'm hoping to get it finished by September, or printed.
I thought your release date was coming up. I couldn't remember, but I remember seeing that. I know you're just so excited. And I know that you're just over the moon. And it takes a lot, Jessica, for us to take that step forward in our life to do something that's really out of our comfort zone. And that is putting our words out there in the world, even as a blogger. That's one of my, that's on my to-do list that I haven't been brave enough to do yet, and I need to, but I haven't done it. And I
just do it.
Yes, I know. And Bridgetti's going to write a book here someday, and she's working on that. But it really does take a lot of courage for us to even talk to other people about our journeys. And sometimes you think, well, gosh, nobody cares what I'm going through or what I've been through, or nobody wants to hear about it, kind of thing. But there is this thing that happens when you begin telling your story. It's like it makes other people feel like, oh God, I'm not alone. And this person's talking, she's being very transparent. And so I think you probably have such a great support system, because you're very much walking your talk. And we need that more in our world than people who are they're just talking, they're not walking that talk,
Yes.
So I'm so glad you have that support.
Thank you. Me too.
So
I wish you so much success in your book done.
Because Bridgetti's going to ask you this question, I know. Who is your biggest supporter? She always likes to know, right?
My mom, yes. Tammy, who you just read her comment.
That's your mom.
Yeah.
Oh, Mom. I love moms.
Yes.
Bridgetti's mom is her, so yeah.
Oh wow. Because we all need somebody in our corner. And I think for us as women, that is particularly important, is to have someone in your corner, whoever that may be, whether it's your child, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a partner, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a co-worker, or whoever that may be. You do just need that anchor in your life. Someone that's going to be objective enough to help you keep you on the path, when you falter. And also somebody to be in your camp when you're doing something well and just go, yay, we all want acknowledgement. So just to have somebody that's a cheerleader in your camp is so, so important. And we should never, ever underestimate that. So it's wonderful that you've got your mom, who is your supporter and
my husband. I didn't say that, but my husband is the biggest supporter too. But my mom was right there. But they're both. I couldn't do this without them, because you're right. It's that even through the positive and the negative, to have someone there. And they know the struggles that I've gone through. And so they know how hard it is, because I'm a people pleaser. And so some of the things that the Lord prompts me to write are not fun to write about. But I know that they need to be written about, and I know that there is someone that needs to see that. And so I write about it. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. It is very vulnerable to put out my even devotions, because it's not even like, it's not a book about, a nonfiction, or it's a fiction book about someone else. Like, these are my stories. These are my intimate times with the Lord. And so, yes, it's very vulnerable.
But and Brittany,
where can people find your work?
Oh yes, where can they find your blog and your book? Well, the book will be out, but that will be out on blackrosewriting.com and Amazon. But
yes. So the blog is blog.graceunworthy.com, and it will soon be switching over to graceunworthy.com. So I will have my own .com, but we're working on that right now. We're making it pretty.
Okay. All right. Well,
and how can people connect with you, Tammy?
Jessica.
Jessica, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I've gotten that my entire life. We look a lot alike. She's reading your
mom's comments.
Yes.
While you're talking to you.
Yeah. So my biggest platform is Facebook. I am also on Instagram, but you can just search for my name, Jessica DeYoung, and you can find me on either ones. And that's where I do my live broadcasts for right now. I also, if you would like to go on YouTube, I've actually uploaded all of my broadcasts that I've done on Facebook to there, so that you can get all of them from Sundays and Thursdays. And that you can just look up my name, Jessica DeYoung.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, we're almost out of time. I know it goes by so fast, and we always have so many things to talk about. And Brigetti and I have a mutual friend, Sarah Wiseman, that we love, that you should reach out to her on Instagram. Okay. And Sarah is she's such a beautiful spirit, and she talks about things that God says, puts on her heart to share. And I know that happens for me as well. I don't always get to put them out there because of just, like Brigetti says, we have so many hats to wear, and we're running around being so many different people at one time. Sometimes it feels like. Yes. So I think it's beautiful that you listen to what the calling is for you, and that you're being this instrument of God, and we are intended to be that physical expression of His creation, is what I believe. So yeah.
Yes, I'm a willing vessel.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so much for being an inspiration to other women. And we really need to do more and more and more uplifting, because there's enough people out there who put others down. And so, and I often talk about this, there's enough bad news in the world. So we want to be spreaders of good news. We want to talk about stuff that's uplifting and that makes people feel good. The traditional media does enough of the bad stuff. And so we can choose to spread the good. We can choose to celebrate the good in each other. It's a choice that we can make.
It is. Absolutely.
So I want to say thank you so much for spreading your goodness in the world. And thank you so much for being on the show as a guest today. And we'd love to have you back again someday.
Well, thank you for having me. I'd love to come back, especially when I have actual books.
Yeah, we need to do that. We'll do like a little launch here on the show. So.
Yes, I would love that. It's so exciting.
Yep. So let's just stay in touch.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for being on today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
A huge big thank you to everyone who's watched us live today, and a huge big thank you to everyone who's watching the show on the replay. So I'm going to say goodbye from myself, Brigetti Limband in Cape Town, South Africa. See you next week, everyone.
And bye from Mary Elizabeth Jackson in Tennessee, and Jessica is in Tennessee too. Yes. Bye.
Bye.